What is going on, folks? This is CJ and Sue here talking all things Joker.
What's up, y'all? This is gonna be you know what? We both need a minute.
Okay, so we're talking about Todd Phillips' Joker movie. It's a movie that I'll say this much. It's not as prolific. Put it this way, it's not the game-changing comic book movie like Todd Phillips touts it as, but it definitely is very disturbing.
Yeah, without a doubt, it's definitely a very disturbing movie. I honestly enjoyed
Cringy
it
at times.
For everything that the movie throws at you. I'm like, holy crap! Like, 1 minute I'm thinking the movie's going to go in this direction, then it completely turns it on its side, and it just goes like complete 180. And then the thing that I guess the thing that kind of got both me and you is, no matter how much you try with a movie based on a specific character from from a long-standing history of comic books, no matter how much you try to separate the character from the comic book, you still somehow end up coming right back to the comic book.
Yeah, I mean the movie itself, it gets the surface level stuff about Joker that we know. I'm not speaking for Sue or D or anybody else. I'm speaking for myself. I think it hits the surface level stuff, but I'm still of the mentality that I think not knowing what triggered the Joker to be who he is was better. But the movie, when you watch it, when you see what triggers Arthur Fleck to be the Joker that we know to a point, it makes sense in the basis of what the movie was setting up.
Oh, absolutely.
So whatever fear that I have of, they're going to come up with some bullshit reason why he became the Joker, for what the movie was doing, it made sense. And they definitely did kind of slow build up to it. It's just a case of how do we get to that point, and what's he going to do once he gets to that point. And boy, oh boy, does the movie hit you over the head repeatedly when it does.
Yeah, it's just nonstop of how much insanity that you go through throughout this film. I mean, good Lord. There was at no point in time I'm like, you know what? This dude is never going to catch a break.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like when we see it, and this is not a spoiler, but you saw in the trailer the whole thing of society really kicking him in the ass. The movie does a pretty good job of just for those few minutes you're feeling bad for him. But then once you get past that, it's like, oh, yeah, you're not feeling bad for him at all. Period. You don't.
And the thing, and it's just like how it always is with him. In terms of Joker's character, it's always, this whole thing started with one bad day.
Well, that was the purpose of Killing Joke, was the idea that all it takes is one bad day. Even in the comics, we never knew what was Joker's one bad day for him to really carry that mindset of that one bad day thing. Because as far as we knew, he just did that as a way of he's saying one bad day because he's just fucked up in the head.
I mean, he says one bad day, but you really got to think about where the whole thing stemmed from, especially in Killing Joke, which, by the way, again, not to throw any spoilers out, but this movie does pay some homage, even whether it's
Joke.
Yeah, it pays homage to the Killing Joke, whether it's slight or whatever, however you take it, it's still a nod to The Killing Joke. It's also a nod to Taxi Driver, and it's also a nod to Kings of Comedy.
Yeah.
Now, but getting back to where the Killing Joke stuff comes from, in terms of The Killing Joke, you see what led him to become who he is by him being a failed comedian. He was married at the time. He was also broke, and when he tried to get money by doing work with some two big gangsters, and they end up screwing him over, he tries to get out of it by taking off that Red Hood mask, and Batman, of course, one thing led to another, and he falls into that vat of acid, and he becomes the Joker.
Which is wild, because that's one history that DC used for Joker. That's the crazy part, because there's other That's the crazy thing about the Joker, is that, and that maybe that's why I like the comic book version, is that there's 3-4 different versions of the Joker's origin, but because there's so many different origins, it keeps up the mystery of who he is.
Yep, it does.
And I think this movie, it had elements where it kept up that mystery of who he is as a person. I'm not going to spoil it, but they threw in some things where it's like, oh, okay, so you're keeping your mystery of who he is to a point. Okay, fine. But yeah, like I said, the further we go into it, it's going to be a lot of spoilers. But I would say this, like I said, Joaquin Pheonix was really good. I never had any doubt that he wasn't going to be good. I already knew he was already going to be good in this film anyways. So
to be honest, Joaquin Phoenix honestly deserves something, man. The guy's got to get an Oscar or something, because
nomination.
He's more than likely he's going to get a nomination. I mean, there's going to be a lot of people that are gunning for Oscars, especially during these next couple of months.
Oh yeah, definitely. Robert DeNiro does a pretty good job. He plays Murray Franklin, who's like this Johnny Carson type, late night personality and stuff. Who's kind of like the character from Kings of Comedy to an extent, you know. And he, runs amok of Joker and Arthur Fleck to, I'm pretty sure if you see where that's going, you kind of see where it could possibly go. So that's not really a spoiler per se. So much has been said about this movie in terms of its settings in Gotham City. I'll say this much: Thomas Wayne is in the movie. And, Brett Cullen plays him and stuff. It's fine, I mean, let's be real. You put it in Gotham City, you had to expect Thomas Wayne to pop up in some capacity, if we're going to be real.
I mean, now look, you and I both had our discussion about this.
Yeah.
Once we knew it was officially, it's Gotham City. The moment I heard the name Wayne, I'm thinking, don't show up in the movie.
I mean, so Thomas Wayne's in the movie, Alfred's in the movie, and Bruce is in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and like I said, it's in the 80s, obviously, so I expected those three to an extent in the movie and stuff. It's one of those things where it's just like, Thomas Wayne is in the movie enough, but he's not a focus.
Yeah, it's definitely not focused on them, but again, it goes back to what I said of, no matter how much you try to set your story away from the comic book, in the end, you come back to the comic book.
Oh yeah, and I mean, even to the point to where you have the Arkham Hospital Center, which you and I both know, it turns into Arkham Asylum.
Yep.
Which, like I said, you're in Gotham City. Of course, you're going to get those little Easter eggs where it's like, oh, that's Arkham Asylum, clearly. Oh, those detectives, they work for the freaking Gotham City Police Department.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm sitting back and I'm like, I was severely waiting for them to introduce Jim Gordon as one of the cops. I'm not even fucking joking.
Or at least, yeah, you're right. He would just be Detective Gordon.
Yeah, Detective. I was really waiting for that. They didn't, thankfully, because that would have been a distraction per se. I don't know. It's just like, okay, so for me, like I said, it's a spoiler, but I'll say this. This is me. All right. There's a part in the movie that I roll my eyes hard at. And I was just, and to me, it took me out the movie. Like, the movie was like, all right, it's doing its own thing. I've made peace with that. I made peace with it from jump, right? Because it got my attention, disturbing and all, right? And it hit a point in the movie, and I'm just sitting there rolling my eyes like, why? Why are we doing this? Why?
I was the same. Look, I was the same way. In fact, I called it.
I don't think you were on my level where it was annoying. I think you were just kind of like, I knew it, and it was that. I mean, that's what I say. I'm speaking for myself. I'm not speaking for you or anybody. It's just that I still have a hang up on that, and when people see it, they'll probably know what I'm talking about. And I know some people probably it ain't a hang up. That's fine. It's just me. It's a hang up because It is what it is. What can you do?
I mean, with me, I called it. I knew it was going to happen, but at the same time, as much as I disagree with it, it had to happen.
Yeah.
And to tell you the truth, it could have went extremely cliche with it. That's one thing I will give it. I'm like, okay, it happened, but but it could have been worse. Y'all could have went super cliche with this, and I'm glad you didn't do it.
Oh yeah, I mean, let's be real about this too. Like I said, I think the movie leans into the disturbing things that they're doing. I can see also why people are very forewarning. People sit there and say it's the white guy manifesto. I mean, yeah. I mean, because Arthur does some stuff that's like very, very extremely questionable.
Yeah.
And it's. I mean, shit. Look, we said Killing Joke is disturbing to a point. This ranks up there with it. So I mean, I would not take kids to see this shit at all. I would not take kids to this at all. Like,
I mean, the movie's clearly rated R for a reason.
Because it ain't like Kick-Ass where it's like, all right, it's rated R, but it's rated R for the things that's like silly and all that stuff, right? This, no. I would not take a kid whatsoever to this shit.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that happens like visually on the screen, and then there's a lot of stuff that happens psychologically, and it really makes you think like even if they don't show it, it happens in your mind. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh God, no, did he really do it? And that's the thing, it always makes you question, does the Joker do it? Like, did he do it?
There's some twists with the character too. I mean, there's two twists in this movie that will legitimately catch you off guard that you didn't see coming.
Yeah.
And you'll literally have the Weebay gift face where you're like, oh my God. Like, and yeah, man, it's, so, I mean, cinematography wise, they nailed it. They nailed the look, the feel and look of a city that's like really just on the brink of just chaos.
Yeah, the cinematography this thing was shot so well. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was getting super Nolan vibes from this movie.
Well, I think that might have been the point they were going for to an extent too.
And I like that. Like, you guys nailed the Nolan vibes, and to be honest, seeing this movie in a regular screening, it doesn't know justice. You have to see this in IMAX.
I mean, if there is an IMAX, maybe.
Oh, there will be. There's going to be an IMAX for this.
I mean, the sound was pretty good too and stuff. I think some of the musical choices that they used worked for the movie. Yeah,
the score was really good. Again, dude, there were so many shots. There were so many shots that was done so well. You know what? I'll put it like, I'll throw one scene. It's a scene in the beginning of the movie where Joaquin Pheonix is where Arthur Fleck, when he's chasing down these kids, and again, not spoiling anything, it's just the part where he gets beat up and there's a low shot of the camera like just watching as he's agonizing in pain, and it slowly pulls back just to drop the title. That shot alone was just beautiful.
Well, I mean, even the OG Warner Brothers logo.
Yeah, that was a good one too. That was a good one too. Just to keep in line with the movie's timeline. Like, okay, you guys use old school Warner Brothers logo.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this though too. I think there was also, and again, this is me here. There was kind of like a situation where I was trying to say to myself, like, what exactly was the movie trying to say to me?
Yeah.
You know, and you could take different things from it and stuff. Like I said, put it this way: there is a layer of a sort of Occupy Wall Street, rich versus poor aspect the movie does push to a certain degree, especially for the setting.
Yeah, it does.
And that's, like I said, that's not a spoiler and stuff, but I would say the angle that they did in this movie is better than what they were doing in Dark Knight Rises.
Can you even argue that and say Batman Begins?
Yeah, but the angle that they were going in that one though, because the way the way Thomas Wayne is portrayed in Batman Begins is a 180 in how he's portrayed in this movie.
That's true.
And like I said, your miles will vary on that, because if you know anything about the Waynes and stuff, nah, I'm not gonna say it because it will spoil it and stuff.
Yeah, it'll
but
spoil.
But what you know about the Wayne family in Batman Begins is different than what this movie portrays them to an extent. So it's like, okay, I see what you're doing, you know, and I don't know. Like I said, I guess the grand summation of this movie is like this. If you are familiar with the comic Joker top to bottom, and you have a particular mentality of who the Joker should be, you'll probably come away from this movie kind of feeling some sort of way. Mm-hmm. But if you really are just watching it as a movie that happens to be about the Joker, you'll probably come away with it feeling disturbed about it, but you'll, like, because the movie, to me, I can't inherently say it's a bad movie. It's not. It's actually a well-made movie that's just disturbing as shit.
It's not a bad movie at all. In fact, what I can say is this movie just isn't for everybody. It's not.
That's the thing, and then we say that a lot when it comes to a lot of movies and stuff. But I think this is probably the legit time you can say, oh, this isn't a movie for everybody. Like, you're gonna probably come out of it with some That's why I feel like, you know, you probably will come out of it like, oh, it's the angry white guy manifesto, which, yeah, I can see how people can get that. Or it might be, people might take this as though it was a movie about a guy that's clearly, you know, mentally, you know, ill, and the movie kind of glorifies it. Okay, I can see that. It's so much stuff you can kind of take away from the movie in terms of how you view it and stuff, so... You know, it's kind of one of those things where, like you said, it's either you're going to watch it or you're not. But I can't inherently say it's a bad movie. It's just, you might, like I said again, if you're familiar with the Joker, you might come away with it 50-50, where you might be like, that's not my Joker. Or you might be like, oh, it hits some notes of Joker, but it's all right, you know.
Yeah.
That's why I think it's unfair to really, put it this way, it's not like the Jared Leto Joker where I can kind of walk away like, that ain't really the Joker that I really am feeling, you know, to that degree and stuff. But I can at least say Joaquin Pheonix plays a variation of Joker, like that was the failed comedian angle.
Yeah, like I said, which goes back to Killing Joke.
Yeah, so... like I said, to a degree it works and stuff, but other than that, I mean, I'm sitting at a 7 out of 10 on the movie, just because I felt the twist in the movie kind of just it knocked it down some notches for me.
For me, I'm giving it at least, honestly, I'm giving it really an 8.5 just off of visuals alone.
Okay.
The visuals, the storytelling. I mean, I was legit surprised with this movie. You know, just from the disturbing point and from the Joker doing what he does best, killing people and making me laugh at the same time.
Yeah, that is, yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, Yeah, so I guess that's it. I think probably down the road, we'll probably be you, Sam, and a couple other people will probably do a spoiler discussion about the movie once the movie proper comes out and stuff. But yeah, that's it. I mean, like I said, you gave it an 8.5. I gave it a 7. So yeah, that's about close to an 8. Close enough, like 7.7 out of 10 to a point. Yeah, so I guess that's it for our movie review. I think next time you probably see us, probably be, I don't know what comes out. Probably 21 Bridges or whatever. Probably, I think.
Yep, we'll see you guys.
Yeah, we'll see you guys later. All right, just be on the lookout for the spoiler discussion on this film and stuff. So, yeah, catch you guys later. Peace out.
Done.